Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the special public council meeting of May 18th, 2020. May I have roll call, please?
Councilman Sakala,
Here.
Councilman Messeri,
Here.
Councilman Tanella,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Here.
Mayor Vargo.
Here. For the public's edification, we have two meetings. We have the special public council meeting, and then we have a regular staff meeting to follow. We're going to do one salute. So if I can ask everybody to stand. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. Let me do this here. Adequate notice of this meeting was duly provided to the Verona Cedar Grove Times and Star Ledger by email and published in an annual schedule of meetings for May 5th, 2020, filed with the township clerk and posted on the public bulletin board in the municipal building lobby in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10-4-1 et sec. Please take notice that the Township Council of the Township of Cedar Grove will conduct a special public meeting on Monday, May 18, 2020 at 7 p.m. via conference call and not in the council chambers of the municipal building. The purpose of the meeting is to conduct a public hearing and adopt pending ordinance number 20-859, amending Chapter 208 of the Township Code entitled Rent Control, and introduce the 2020 municipal budget and 2020 solid waste collection district budget. Official action will be taken. The previously scheduled staff meeting will immediately follow. The public will be able to listen to the meeting and participate during public comment by calling in the number and entering the participant code during the date and time of the meeting. Okay. All right, we did the open public meeting. Okay, so item 2 on the agenda, we have public hearing 2A to consider adoption of pending bond ordinance number 20-859, amending Chapter 208 of the Township Code entitled Rent Control.
Right, this is an ordinance to amend Chapter 208 of the Township Code entitled Rent Control.
Thank you, Mrs. Stutz. I'd like to open this up for public hearing for any comments from the audience. At this point in time, I believe we have one caller on the line. Can we?
Four.
Oh, we have
4 callers on the line right now.
we have four callers on the line. We will go ahead and unmute all 4, and I will wait 10 seconds. Again, this is for public comment on item on pending ordinance number 20.
You can unmute them all and just ask them if anybody has any comment rather than do individual. You put everybody else.
I'm just going to unmute all 4.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let me know when you do that.
All guests have been unmuted. You will now rejoin the meeting.
At this point in time, if any of our callers have any comments on 20-859, now would be the time to speak. I'll give it about a 10-second runoff. Okay. Hearing no comments, do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move for the adoption of pending ordinance number 20-859 to be published in the Star Ledger as a passed ordinance to take effect as prescribed by law.
I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. That was Councilman Sakala and Councilman Tanella on the second.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Sakala,
Yes.
Councilman Messeri,
Yes.
Councilman Tanella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Vargo.
Yes. Okay, item 3A on the agenda to consider introduction of pending ordinance number 20-860. Ordinance.
Mayor, excuse me, we're going to mute everybody in the public again at this point.
Yes, please go ahead. I'll pause while you do that.
Okay.
Would you like your guests to be able to unmute their... All guests have been muted. You will now rejoin the meeting.
Okay, great. Okay, so item 3A on the agenda, to consider introduction of pending ordinance number 20-860, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank.
Mayor, I would read the same
Okay.
announcement.
All right, Ms. Stutz, thank you. Is there any discussion on this item, Mr. Tucci?
Yes, I just wanted to explain. The title of this ordinance is basically a misnomer. What it says is an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits. What it is actually is just a paper transaction. It just allows us to exceed the cap to bank money in the event. What happens, we're allowed to bank 3 years worth of cap money. If you look at our cap spending sheet, we are approximately $417,490 under the 2% cap. This ordinance allows us to go up to 3.5%, but it doesn't, what we're doing is we're not raising the budget to 3.5%. As a matter of fact, we're below by 417,000. But what it does is paper-wise, it allows us in future, the next 3 years, if we have to exceed the cap for any particular reason, we'll have this excess paper number that will still be in compliance with state law about exceeding the 2% cap. And this is just basically a catch-all. It doesn't increase the budget $1 more. And again, I can't reiterate enough, we are not exceeding the cap bank. We are $417,490 under the cap, just for clarification purposes. Because when you read the title of it, it's misleading. It looks like we're exceeding our cap limit, going from 2 to 3.5%, and that's exactly what we're not doing.
It's a fantastic explanation, Mr. Tucci. I appreciate that very much. Any other comments or questions? Anybody on the council? Okay, do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move for the adoption of pending ordinance 20859 to be
No, the
published.
introduction.
Yes, introduction.
860.
This is 20-860.
Ah, my bad.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
Mayor, I have the motion. I
Okay.
move for introduction of pending ordinance number 20-860 to be published in full in the Star Ledger as a pending ordinance with a public hearing scheduled for June 1st, 2020.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Mayor, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Councilman Sakawa,
Yes.
Councilman Massari,
Yes.
Councilman Tanella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Vargo.
Yes. Item 3B on the agenda, to consider resolution concerning introduction of 2020 municipal budget.
Be it resolved that the following statements of revenues and appropriations shall constitute the municipal budget for the year 2020. And be it further resolved that the budget be published in the Verona Cedar Grove Times in the issue of June 4th, 2020, with the public hearing scheduled for June 15th, 2020 at 7:00 p.m.
Thank you. Mr. Tucci, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, Mayor, I normally give an overview of the budget
Please
for
do.
the public and for the governing body before you go into the introduction. As the governing body is aware, the 2020 municipal budget is being introduced tonight. By statute, it's normally in mid-March, but because of COVID-19, the governor has extended the introduction periods. So we had until May 30th to do the introduction. Obviously, we're about 12 days ahead of schedule here. Traditionally, every year I meet with Mr. Homa and we try to strike a tax rate, one that we think is very palatable to the community. And this year, the 2020 municipal budget appropriation is $16,184,249. That's as compared to last year's budget, which was $15,992,016. Overall, the budget will increase $192,233, much of which is outside the cap. Based on our cap calculation worksheet, the maximum amount to be raised by taxation for 2020 would be $11,063,562, and we're only proposing a limit of $10,000,000 $646,071. And like I stated earlier, we are $417,490 under the 2% cap. And again, what helps us too is years back, a former governor asked the public employees to give contributions. So basically our medical, our health benefits, there's a contribution give back by the public. They pay by the employees. So we're going to accumulate $365,856 toward that medical expense for employee benefits. Some of the other highlighted areas that are going to increase this year: municipal court went up about $10,358. Finance department went up about $8,020. Group medical, which is something that goes up consistently every year, is up $20,196. Police and fire pension contributions is up $85,207. Our pool debt service is $103,088. Again, that's a projection. Last year, we only came in at about $70,000. We projected more. Our debt service payment is $861,500, and that's mainly because of the new Newark watershed property payment. And municipal utilities are up $24,967. As far as our net valuations of taxable properties, we're at $2,217,931,700. That's down slightly from last year. Our estimated local rate is projected to be 0.516 cents as opposed to 0.507 cents last year. The average assessed home in Cedar Grove has gone up a little bit. It went from $468,200 last year. The average assessed home will be $469,600 this year. A local tax point costs $51.60. So all total, the average house that's assessed at $469,600 will have a tax bill of $2,423.14. So that total tax bill you see, you're only paying about 19 cents on the dollar here to Cedar Grove. So again, the average assessment is $469,600. The average tax bill will be $2,423.14. So basically, that equates to a $49.30 increase on the average assessed home for this year, which is relatively minor. As in the past, the governing body can amend this budget. We're only on the introduction portion of it. You have until the final adoption to do that. And we're looking to have final consideration. It'll either be June 1st if the state gives us go ahead, or June 18th. And that's subject to local finance board verification. Because what happens once we introduce this, we send it down there, they do a cursory review, and we get it back. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this point. And if you're satisfied, I hope you introduce the budget, because I think it's a well-constructed budget. The governing body and the department heads here put a lot of time and effort into this to keep the tax rate here in Cedar Grove low. And that's why our property values are where they are. And again, congratulations on a good budget season introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci. As always, thank you for that overview. And I want to say thank you for putting together the budget with your team and with all the department heads. It is, for those on the call, it is always so meticulous, line by line. No dollar or penny goes unreviewed. And I think that's important. And I think it's important, a lot of people always say, why did you choose Cedar Grove? I know I can personally say this: when I was looking for a home and moving into Essex County, we had considered Cedar Grove and other communities, and to see the tax difference on our houses compared to the same house in another town, it was significant. And that's because of the hard work of you, Mr. Tucci, over the years, and how well you work with all of the council members and your departments to do that. And I want to thank you for that. And I also want to point out that an item you said, that 19 cents on the dollar goes to the municipality, because a lot of people think, that we get the lion's share of it, when that's in fact not the case. Can you, Mr. Tucci, if you don't mind, can you explain whether the percentages are close, or where does the other 81% go?
Well, approximately 52 cents on a dollar goes to the Board of Education, and about 28 to 29 cents goes to the County of Essex. And that would make up the remainder of of the tax dollar. But again, for that 19 cents, you get municipal services, you get public works, you get police, you get fire. Everything that comes to you comes through there.
Yeah, and I think it's, at this time, I think it's also important to point out all of our great volunteers within the community, because not only do our volunteers, our fire and our rescue provide such critical life-saving services, but they also, by doing that and volunteering their time, it allows us to keep our tax rate down.
Mhm.
So, any of my colleagues have any other comments?
No,
Okay.
Mayor, I think you said it all.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, so do I have a motion?
You do.
Mayor, I'll make the motion.
Councilman Messeri? Do I have a second?
Mayor, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Councilman Sakala. Roll call, please.
Councilman Sakala,
Yes.
Councilman Messeri,
Yes.
Councilman Tanella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Vargo.
Yes. We are on to item 3C on the agenda. To consider resolution concerning introduction of 2020 solid waste collection district budget.
Be it resolved that the following statements of revenues and appropriations shall constitute the solid waste collection district budget for the year 2020. And be it further resolved that said budget be published in the Verona Cedar Grove Times in the issue of June 4th, 2020, with a public hearing scheduled for June 15th, 2020 at 7:00 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Stutz. Coming back to you right there. Do you have any?
Yes, I just want to comment that the solid waste collection district budget is remaining the same as last year. It's 0.036 cents, that's 3.6 cents for a solid waste collection, but that remains static, no increase at all.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci. Any other comments? Do I have a motion, please?
Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Councilman Tanella. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Roll call, please.
Councilman Sakala,
Yes.
Councilman Messeri,
Yes.
Councilman Tanella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Vargo.
Yes. Item 3D on the agenda. To consider resolution concerning deferral of school tax levy.
Be it resolved that the deferred school tax for the local school district be increased from the sum of $14,535,741, which was deferred as of December 31st, 2018, to the sum of $14,985,801.50.
Thank you, Mrs. Stutz. Mr. Tucci, any comment?
Yeah, just a brief explanation. The deferral of school taxes was a law put into effect by Governor Florio back in 1991. And what it did was it allowed for the lag in the payment of school levies. And what it does is it allows us to hold back X amount of dollars, and then what happens is we catch up later on during the course of the year. And what it is, it's for cash flow purposes that Governor Florio originally introduced this. And that's the purpose for this. Again, this is similar to the cap bank. It's more of a pro forma paper type of exercise.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Messeri. Roll call, please.
Councilman Sakala,
Yes.
Councilman Messeri,
Yes.
Councilman Tanella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Vargo.
Yes. We're moving on to item number 4 on the agenda. I just will remind the callers on the call that we also have a staff meeting immediately following this. This line will remain open, and those agendas can be found on our township website. At this time, I'd like to go to number 4. The meeting is now open to residents of the township wishing to be heard on any item on or off the agenda concerning township business. Mr. Tucci, you have 5 callers?
5 callers, yes.
Okay, so at this point in time, for the purposes of the special public council meeting, I'm going to open it up to all 5 callers. I will remind the callers that we do have a staff meeting after this, at which point in time, all of the council members will go into all of their council reports, and all of the, Mr. Tucci, Mr. Semero, and Ms. Stutz will also go into their reports, which is our traditional meeting. So go ahead, let's open up all of those 5 callers.
All guests have been unmuted. You will now rejoin the meeting.
At this point in time, the meeting is open to residents of the township wishing to be heard on any item on the agenda concerning township business. I will give a 10-second runoff. If you would like to speak, please state your name and your address for the record.
Stephen Young, 18 Young Avenue.
How you doing, Mr. Young?
I'd like to congratulate the town manager and all department heads and the council on a very fiscal responsible budget.
Thank you very much. I can tell you that I give all the credit to Mr. Tucci and his leadership. The way he works with the township council and all the department heads. I give him, without him, we don't get to do what we do. So thank you, Mr. Young. Anything else? Nope. Anything? Okay. I'll give it another, if I have anybody else on the line that would like to speak, I'll give it another 5 or so seconds to state your name and address, please. Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and close that portion of the meeting. Thank you.
Would you like your guests to be able to All
Okay,
guests have been muted.
okay.
You will now rejoin the meeting.
All right, so at this point in time, we're going to go ahead. Do I have a motion for an adjournment of the special public council meeting?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's pause for a second so we can all get our agenda for the staff meeting. Okay. Okay. Mr. Tucci, Ms. Stutz, are you all set?
We are.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, great. Everybody's good. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the council staff meeting of May 18th, 2020. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Sakala,
Here.
Councilman Masseri,
Here.
Councilman Tanella,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Here.
Mayor Vargo.
Here. Adequate notice of this meeting was duly provided to the Verona Cedar Grove Times and the Star Ledger by email and published in an annual schedule of meetings of December 26th, 2019, filed with the township clerk and posted on the public bulletin board in the municipal building lobby in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Okay, then I have to jump back so I can read. Actually, I'm good. All right, we've already done our flag salute at our special public meeting. We are going to go ahead and jump right into item number 2 on the agenda, approval of minutes. 2A, staff meeting, April 20th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Masseri.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Tanella. Roll call, please.
Councilman Sakala,
Yes.
Councilman Masseri,
Yes.
Councilman Tanella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Vargo.
Yes. Okay, so at this point in time, we're going to go into all of our reports. First up, item number 3 on the agenda, our township manager, Tom Tucci. Good evening.
Yes, Mayor. Actually, I'm going to handle one of the items under council reports at this point, if that's okay with the governing body. The issue of water bill account 3-280-6600. I believe we have a resolution to the outstanding water bill issue. The staff and I, Mr. Homa, came up with a payment plan over 5 years, and we're recommending a waiver of the late fees. The total bill was $7,034.59. Of that, $703.46 were late fees. We would recommend that you waive those late fees, and the resident has agreed to either pay it in full or over a 5-year period. And there'll be no interest, obviously, on that payment plan. And the resident has agreed to put in a remote meter, which will alleviate this problem in the future. I just need a vote from the governing body to allow me to waive the $703.46 late fee. And I think this puts this issue to rest.
Mr. Tucci, this is Mayor Vargo here. I have no objection to that. I think it's a great solution. This was a difficult situation that turned into a positive situation, and I have no objection to waiving the late fees. I don't know if anybody else have any concerns or objections?
No objection, Mayor.
No objections.
No objection, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tucci, for working with this resident to get this resolved.
Yeah, do we want to take a vote now or at this point for the clerk to record?
We need a formal motion?
Yeah, I would take a motion in a second on this.
Okay, I'm seeing Mr. Semero nod as well.
Yes.
May I have a motion, please?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to this situation that Mr. Tucci just set forth on the record.
Okay.
I'll second it, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Tanella, and thank you, Councilman Sakala, for the motion. May I have roll call, please?
Councilman Sakala,
Yes.
Councilman Messeri,
Yes.
Councilman Tanella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Vargo.
Yes. Okay. So, Mr. Tucci, we'll go ahead and jump back into your.
Okay, my report. Next item I'd like to address is the Woodstone Drive parking issue. As the governing body is aware, as part of the litigation with the Coptic Church, as part of the settlement and agreed to by the Coptic Church and the township at some date was going to make one side no parking. I believe that was the west side of the street. We are at a point where we would like to proceed with that. There's a memo in the packet from the police department outlining what has to transpire there. And our recommendation is to have the township attorney make the amendment to the ordinance to allow for no parking on the east side, as we promised the residents in that neighborhood.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Tucci. I do recall this discussion. We discussed this at several points in time. What do you need from the council?
Well, you just need to authorize the township attorney to make the changes to the ordinance. And then it'll be on for first and second reading in subsequent meetings.
Okay, do you need a formal motion?
No, you can do it by consensus, as long as
Okay.
everybody agrees. You don't need
I have no objection here.
Mr. Samuro, you're okay with that?
Yes.
Is there any objection from any of my council colleagues?
No objection, Mayor.
No objection, Mayor.
Okay, go
All
ahead.
right, moving right along, a lot of house cleaning today. We're going to move on to Route 23 parking. As everyone knows, Route 23 will be paved shortly. As a matter of fact, the latest schedule I have, the first week in June, the paving is scheduled for at this point. And as part of that, Mayor, I know you were very instrumental in the discussion about changing the parking rules in the downtown business area. With that, we have on the books, no parking 4 to 6 on the books, but there are no stopping and standing, which is a state ordinance. So in order to clean up our ordinance, we have to request that the state remove the restrictions in their ordinance. There's a memo in the packet from the police department outlining, I believe there's also a letter from NJDOT outlining what steps we have to take. And we would like authorization to proceed to make that change to the town ordinance. Actually, we have to do a resolution to the state first, requesting that they remove their stopping and standing ordinance. And then on the second phase, we can do the second step and remove the 4 to 6 restriction. And that'll allow for DOT to go ahead and do the traffic calming and maybe get some more parking in the downtown business area. So I don't know what the governing body's pleasure. Our recommendation is we'd like to see the governing body proceed with this.
Mr. Tucci, I want to thank you for pushing this. I know this was a topic that we all discussed. And we're in favor of doing this for our businesses in the downtown area, especially the changes that we've seen over the past few years. Thank you for pushing this. I did see the memo. So you need I have no objection to you proceeding.
We just need the town attorney to do a resolution. I think there's a sample resolution from DOT in there. The clerk has one also, she's telling me. We just need your authorization to put it on the next agenda so we can get it down to them and they can start taking some action.
I have no objection for going on the next agenda. Any of my council colleagues have any objections?
No objection, Mayor.
None.
Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again.
Moving right along, next item is just informational in nature. Tomorrow, we're going to be honoring some healthcare workers over at Alaris. They're going to come out on the lawn at 1 o'clock tomorrow, and our police and fire department's going to parade them and salute them. If any governing body would like to attend or stand on just to watch it, but these healthcare workers have been on the front line for a long time, and we just want to recognize them and tell them thank you.
Mr. Tucci, is there a meeting point for that? Where do you plan on starting?
They're probably going to start here right at Town Hall.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Right at Town Hall. The fire chief and the police chief have coordinated the effort already.
Okay.
And I know there's a lot of people very anxious to get that thank you that are healthcare workers.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci. Thanks for organizing that.
And there is a letter in the packet from a resident, William Fry, but we'll discuss that a little later. I think that's part of an agenda item that is on for the council agenda.
Right, we have
Also, last week, we started loosening up the utilization of our recreational facilities. Namely, we allowed the track at Panther Park to open up, just the track, and the tennis courts down on Little Falls Road. Now, there were restrictions put in place because we're doing this very slowly. We're loosening up very slowly. We want to make sure people are safe and that we don't have any reoccurrence. Unfortunately, down at the tennis courts, people are not recognizing what the restrictions are, and we're going to have to suspend that utilization for the time being and go back to no playing of tennis. As far as Panther Park, there has been a lot of young folks on the field not listening. The police department were there a number of times over the weekend. We're not going to restrict that yet, the track, but we did put out on the website that we're very concerned that people need to observe what the restrictions are. You can walk the track, but please no playing on the field. And if people don't comply with it, we may have to pull back utilization of Panther Park at that point also. But we're very hesitant. We don't want to do that. We want to give people the luxury of utilizing that great facility. I know I went and walked around it a little bit myself. I was very happy. I saw Councilman Sakala. He went out there also. We want people to enjoy it. And the better people follow the restrictions that we put on these things, the more we're going to be able to ease up on other restrictions in the future. So I just wanted to give a little overview on that. And also,
Mr. Tucci,
go ahead.
Before you move on from that item, because I want to make sure that I think that track is an important part of, easing some of our restrictions. And I want to make sure that that is preserved. The ability to go on that track is preserved. I've seen, I would tell you this, I personally have not been down to the track. I've seen some other communities put very large signs, not just a little piece of paper sign, but a very large sign or something other, some type of caution tape, not around the whole field, but just as a, hey, stop, slow down, no organized activities. I only say that because I want to make sure that, the few that are going on there, using it for organized activities, don't ruin it for the many. I want to, before we go ahead, I know we have it on the website, but I think a lot of people don't necessarily check the website.
But there is signage there. There's two big signs in the middle of the field that define, you shouldn't be playing there.
Maybe even some.
As a matter of fact, some of our good residents who utilize the track are the ones that are calling us, telling us, there's people on the field and they're going to ruin it for us.
Right, and that's what I want to make sure doesn't happen. So, even if it's some caution tape, that people see. Again, just to, I just would hate to see that be removed.
Right.
So if there's anything else that we could do to just tell, an identification to stop.
Mhm.
Good. So,
Well, we're trying to just send out additional alerts, please don't use the field.
sure.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Sure. Go ahead, Councilman Sakala.
Mr. Tucci, what was the main complaint down at the tennis courts? What was going on down there that we had to
Well,
close it?
what was happening was we had it by permit only one-on-one. What happens is there were people there that didn't have permits that were crashing the courts, and then there were a whole bunch of people on the tennis courts, not just singles. And there was gatherings there. It became a little bit problematic. Some of the residents that lived across the street from the tennis courts called in and said, there seems to be some issues here. The police went down and had to disperse, what was going on there. So again, I don't know, who the particulars were involved in it, but we just need people to just follow the rules a little bit so everyone can enjoy these great facilities.
Is there a plan at this point to get it reopened at a later date, or no?
We're formulating a little bit different procedure, and we're going to try something a little bit differently.
Okay.
We're going to give it a week or so to put everything together, and then we'll try again.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci.
We hate at this point to take anything away. We want to add and allow people to do more things, not less.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci.
Okay, Mayor? I just like to give just a real quick COVID-19 report. Our numbers, if you look on our website at the 3-day average, our numbers are way down low. As a matter of fact, our numbers are almost exclusively coming from nursing homes at this point. But the good part of the report from the nursing homes are the numbers that are being reported right now are what they call reclassification. And if you go on to our COVID report under item G, it explains it. You may see rising COVID LTC facility cases. What's happening is the state is relooking at all the numbers and all the cases from March to April. And some cases that were not considered COVID at that time, they're reclassifying them. So technically, these are not brand new cases that are popping up right now. They're reclassifications that had before, and that's why our numbers are fluctuating. You'll see maybe 2 or 3 out of the nursing homes. The latest report I got, again, there was another adjustment. We're down 3 cases this evening at 7 o'clock as of the latest report. So as they keep readjusting and reclassifying, our numbers are bouncing up and down. But the good part of that is that these are not brand new COVID cases. These are old cases that are just being reclassified, and that's why you're seeing these numbers bounce a little bit. But again, our numbers are way down. I'm very happy that this thing is flattened out very well. And the main thing is we don't want this to flare up again. And that's why we're asking people, please cooperate. Let's get through this a little bit more, and hopefully we'll get all the way through and get back to some normalization.
Absolutely.
That's my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci. We appreciate you staying on top of all that, as always. I am going to go to item 4 on the agenda, our township attorney. Good evening, Mr. Semeraro. How are you?
Good evening. I have nothing to report, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Semeraro.
I'm here to answer any of your questions.
As always, thank you very much. Item number 5 on the agenda, our township clerk, Mrs. Stutz. Good evening.
Good evening. The only update that I have is that I've just received notification today that Governor Murphy issued an executive order to make the June 7th primary election to be conducted by vote by mail ballots. So all registered voters will be receiving vote by mail ballots for the July 7th primary election. I don't have too many other details to report on at this moment because I have not had any conversation or communication with our county election officials as of yet.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that update. Any comments, questions?
Mayor, I have a question for Ms. Stutz regarding her report.
Sure. There, go ahead.
Ms. Stutz, Does that change anything for November? My understanding of the vote by mail process, that once you register to vote by mail, then you're obligated to vote by mail at the following election. Does this
I
impact?
do not believe that that is going to cause that as a result. But again, I just received this notification today, so I don't have the full details yet. And I think we're going to have to wait and see what the state mandates for the general election, and actually it's a federal election, so to see what comes out as a result of that. It's not within our municipal control.
Thank you, Ms. Stutz.
Okay. Anybody else? Ms. Stutz, anything else to cover?
No, okay.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 6, council reports. I'm going to go ahead and start our council reports today. I think we have at least one very, very important item to discuss. We have our reorganization meeting coming up in July. And this is right around the time where we do a straw poll for who our next mayor and deputy mayor is. And I'm excited to see where we go in the next year. And I know we have some great leadership here. We have a great council that has worked together unbelievably well. So Mr. Tucci or anybody else on the council, do we do the deputy mayor first, or do we do a straw poll for the mayor? And there should be a nomination.
Normally you do the mayor first and then the deputy mayor following.
Okay, so then can I ask for a nomination for mayor for starting July 2020?
Mayor, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to nominate Deputy Mayor Carrie Peterson for our next mayor.
You mean Bethany?
Bethany,
Mayor, I'll second that motion.
Fantastic. I have, that was for Mrs. Stutz's edification, that was Councilman Tinella on the motion, Councilman Sakala. That's, this is, I'm just going to say this is exciting. This Deputy Mayor Peterson, it's been an honor and a privilege to work alongside you from the time we started campaigning together. I can think of nobody else that deserves it more than you. The passion and the excitement that you have for this community is unmatched. I sit here talking and I truly have the chills because I'm so happy for you. Look forward to the next year, but let's go ahead and let's make it official or semi-official, right? Until we make it official at our meeting. Ms. Stutz or Mr. Tucci, is this where we'll take a vote here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so really, I think it's just Councilman Messeri. I don't vote, correct?
you vote. You
No,
vote,
you
Mayor.
vote.
Well, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, fantastic. I'm glad I get to vote. Okay, so can I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Sakawa,
Yes.
Councilman Nasseri,
Yes.
Councilman Tinella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Verga.
Absolutely, 100% yes.
Nice.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now we have our deputy mayor. Do I have a nomination for deputy mayor?
Mayor, I'd love to take this opportunity. It's an honor to nominate Councilman Peter Tinella for deputy mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Mayor, I will second that motion.
All right, thank you, Councilman Sakala on the second. Councilman Tinella, I will say the exact same thing.
good.
It's really easy to talk about my colleagues on this council because there's no hidden agenda. There's nothing but passion and care for Cedar Grove. I didn't even have anything planned, and this is just kind of me free-flowing because the dedication that this group has to this community. I'll say this, I'm obviously a little bit biased here living in Cedar Grove and being on the council, but I don't think any other township has a team like we have. We are a team. We are a team that we disagree on things, and that's okay. But we debate them back and forth, and that's what makes our team so strong. And Councilman Tonella, with your leadership over the years that you bring to this township, to this council, I thank you, because I know I've called you on many occasions saying, how do I do this or how do I do that? And you've always been there to help. So I look forward to serving with you for the next year as deputy mayor. So we have a motion and we have a second. Do I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Sakawa,
Yes.
Councilman Nassari,
Yes.
Councilman Tonella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Vargo.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I make a comment?
Sure.
I want to congratulate Kerry, even though it's premature. But being a guy who lives with all women, I have 2 daughters, I have 2 granddaughters, and I'm very happy that my granddaughters will see a woman be the mayor of this township as a role model. And I couldn't think of anybody better than you. And I know Peter Tonella has 3 daughters, so he knows he feels the same thing I do.
100%.
It's very good that we see this in our society, women in leadership positions. But thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so did we do a roll call? No, not yet, right?
Yes.
We did.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're all set on that. We have our nominations for mayor and deputy mayor. So we take formal action on the day of the reorg. Is that when it happens?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So nothing else that we need to do now?
No.
Fantastic. Okay. All right, I will continue since I'm on my report. I'm just going to go ahead. I'll jump into item 6B on the agenda here as part of my report to clean up our items here. So item 6B, item 6A is resident correspondence, water/sewer bill. We have discussed that already and addressed. Item 6B is resident correspondence, farmer's market. For the public's edification, Mr. Tucci, would you mind just giving, or I should say for the public's edification and for the township, the council, can you give an overview of what this item is?
Basically, there's correspondence from a resident who basically was raising bees as a beekeeper, a local businessman in town, and he had his beehives up at Morgan's farm, and he was asked to leave by one of the people that works on the farm. As the 2 letters of correspondence that he sent in state, that he was asked to leave abruptly, that he doesn't understand what happened. He hasn't received any notification from Historical Society proper. He doesn't know that they are asking him to leave. And he is also aware that the township is the owner of the property and is the only one that has the right to ask people on the property or ask people off the property. And that was the reason why he was writing to the governing body, to make you aware of what the situation is and to appeal that he be able to stay there. So I believe that's it in a nutshell, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci. And I think it's important to note that we did receive a formal letter from this resident, as well as a follow-up email expressing those concerns. I believe the council has those letters as well, and they were in our interdepartment packet. I do, I have read the letter, and I know there was some discussion about an employee who has told this resident to leave. And just, I think for the public's edification, it's important to review how Morgan's Farm is operated through the Historical Society. And Mr. Tucci, I'm going to put you on the spot, but can you just explain how the Historical Society interplays with Morgan's Farm?
What happens is the Historical Society is an independent organization. And what happens, they've been in the community for many, many, many years. And when the property was dedicated over to the township, the Morgan House became a museum, and the Historical Society lease that museum property and the barn adjacent to it to set up a museum and set up artifacts in there. The township has benefited from this along with the society. We have a great mutual relationship there. And then a few years back, there was a concept that they wanted to start raising farm goods there because Courtney Morgan, the original owner, had a farm there, and it would be a novel idea. And there are a lot of farmers markets out and about in other communities. So that's how this all came about, and we are where we are today. This has expanded and grown beyond certain limits, and I think it needs a little bit more control at this point so that we can get a handle. In particular, we had a couple of our business owners that were participating, and we thought that was a great thing. But as of recently, we're finding out that some of these business owners are not being welcome anymore, and there's people from outside the community. And I think we should be supporting our local businesses, especially during this COVID-19 time, to help them and support them in any way we can. And I think we need to look a little further in this and make sure that our local businesses are able to participate in this farmers market and thrive just like everyone else.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good overview. Thank you, Mr. Tucci. For the benefit of the council, I want to let you know, I spoke with one of the Historical Society members as recently as today to try to get a better understanding of what this situation is with the beekeeper and some of the other businesses. And I'm just going to sum it up this way. I think it's important that there be a certain review process if there is going to be, or if there are going to be vendors on Morgan's Farm. And I think Morgan's Farm is fantastic, and it provides such a great service to the community, and everybody who goes loves it. I do think that there has to be some sort of review process, because as we saw in this letter, it's obviously only one side of the story. So I think it's important that we note that. But as we saw in the letter, a decision was made according to the resident by an employee per the letter, and that was the end. And I can tell you that this decision was brought to the Historical Society's attention, but largely based on the employee's perspective. And so there has to be a review process. I'm just concerned that if without a review process of vendors and how things get done, that it leaves it leaves things unchecked. So I don't know if anybody has any comments.
I just have one comment, and I'd like the town attorney to weigh in on this. I mean, the vendors that are there, they're on municipal property. There should be certificates of insurance for each of those vendors that are on there. And I don't know if you're of that opinion, Mark, or not.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I actually have a significant amount of advice in this area. As you know, I did have some communication with the council in months gone by. We had a memo and certain suggestions that I would not want to have in open session. Privileged communication. So whenever you feel it's appropriate, I'm ready, willing, and able to expand upon that further, but in executive session. But,
Mayor,
but certainly I agree that nobody should be engaging in business there without us making sure that there's the appropriate insurance to protect the township.
Councilman Tonella, before I get to you, may I, Mr. Semeraro, for our next meeting, can we be prepared to talk about that topic, maybe in executive session? We'll recirculate that memo that you provided. And then, I don't want to, we're springing it on you now, but maybe at the next meeting, we can be a little bit more fully prepared, all of us, to have detailed questions.
Absolutely. I'm ready to discuss it whenever you are, but I do think that it would serve a benefit for you to have the memo in hand for you to kind of read along with me.
Agreed. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. And then we can have some discussion, really digest it.
Certainly.
And again, you have some time to get caught up to speed fully. Councilman Tinella?
Mayor, you took the words out of my mouth. I'd like to have an executive session on this issue, and I look forward to our next meeting about it. There's a lot of moving parts here. There's been a lot of issues going on there for a long time, much of which we previously addressed, but haven't really come to a conclusion on. So this is a great opportunity for us to kind of finalize our discussions and take some direction here.
Okay, Councilman Tinella, thank you. Mr. Tucci, I sit here, what is the conclusion, or what's being asked of us with regard to?
Well, as far as the letter's concerned, I think Mr. Fry would just like that decision to be held in abeyance until the governing body has a chance to review it. And I think he should be allowed to stay on the farm and not move his size as of yet. Being a resident of this community, I think he should be given deference in this case.
Does anybody have any objection to that, or any other concerns or questions?
No, Mayor.
Okay.
I have no objection, Mayor, but with regard to a concern, I guess how's that going to be communicated, Mayor? I mean, it's it's hard to really kind of address this issue without being in an executive session. But I mean, how's that going to? Are we going to tell the resident, Mr. Tucci, how are you going to go about communicating, handling the situation?
I'm going to advise the chairperson of the Historical Society that the governing body would like this issue to be held in abeyance. They don't want the beekeeper to move off the property until the governing body has had a thorough review of the situation.
Okay.
If that's satisfactory, that's the message I'll relay.
Yeah, that's good, man. Thank you, Mr. Tucci.
Okay. So you'll go ahead and do that. You'll send the letter, and I think that
I will call the president of the Historical Society tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. And I think that just allows us to give, get a complete picture of what's actually going on here.
Yeah.
Like an opportunity to speak to Mr. Semeraro, and make the most fully informed decision.
And I will inform Mr. Fry also of the decision.
Okay. All right. So that's still on my report, but I wanted to make sure that I cleaned up those items. With regard to 6B, the farmer's market, any other questions or comments from any of my colleagues before I move on?
Just clarification, Mayor, for Mr. Tucci, if it's okay. So my understanding, Mr. Tucci, is whether Historical Society agrees or not, they can't do anything about it until this governing body makes a decision.
That is correct.
So I want to make sure that they're aware of that when that message is relayed. We have to make a decision on what we're doing before.
Correct.
Right.
Thank
Okay. Thank you for that clarification, Councilman. If I could go on to the remainder of my report, just to keep things as clean as possible and not have to go back. Mr. Tucci, I've been raising some questions about our businesses, especially in the downtown area, but our businesses in all of Cedar Grove. And, what I describe as pivoting out of COVID-19. I look at, we were so focused on numbers and where we were in the current state that I think we have to start looking forward to what is the impact going to be on some of our businesses. In the past, some of the things that we've talked about include the paving schedule, which is one of my questions here that I'll ask about. In the past, we've also talked about, easing some of the dining restrictions. So I'm just going to go through some of my questions, if I can, to see if some of these things are possible, or if the council has any objections, if that would be okay. So as we know, if you are applying for outdoor dining at the current moment, there is a fee. I think it's a nominal fee, like $100 or something like that, maybe $50. It's something.
$100. Yeah.
It's $100.
$100.
So my first question would be: is there any objection to waiving the outdoor seating fee for this year? I think it's a goodwill gesture to our businesses. It doesn't necessarily waive the application itself, but waiving the fee associated with that. Is that possible? Does anybody have any objection to that? Okay.
I would have no objection to that, Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Tucci, is that possible?
Yes, it is. If the governing body authorizes it, yes.
Okay.
I think it's a good thing to do for our businesses, both downtown and elsewhere.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. The other thing, so I've been speaking with a lot of our businesses in town, not only restaurants or bars, but some of our retail businesses. And as far as I know, there's an ordinance on the book that doesn't permit merchandise to be displayed in the front of a store. Mr. Tucci, is that something that we can relax again while we're dealing in the age of social distancing? I'm thinking, for example, that we have a new store coming to town, a Midtown something, next to the to the dog groomer. I think it would be nice if, as people are walking, they had some merchandise out that they can review without having to go into the store. Is that something that we can look at, or is there any objection from the council on something like that?
That's something we could look at. When we relax it, though, it's going to have to be specified times when these activities could take place.
Sure.
And again, that should be more of a seasonal thing, much like the outdoor dining, rather than the norm.
Yeah, and I say this, a lot of these questions that I have, and I apologize I'm going into so much detail, but a lot of the questions that I have, I'm looking at kind of just this year. We can always revisit them next year, but not to make some of these changes permanent, but more so to relax them for the year. We can always reconsider an ordinance at a later point in time, just to help our businesses weather the storm here. The other item dealing with the outdoor dining, as far as I know, it ends, I believe, in November. And so when you apply for that outdoor dining permit, you pay your money, and it's for a specified period of time, which I think is in November.
May to October.
October.
It's May through October.
May through October. So we have at least November and maybe
April. Oh, no, it's April through October. Excuse me.
Okay.
April through October.
So my question would be: is there any way we can either extend it or extend the permit again temporarily for this year, so that way our businesses can maybe stay open till December, as an example?
Well, the response to that is probably not extended beyond what the seasonal, but we can have multiple seasonal permits rather than one extended. Because if you extend the one, then you're basically, in essence, changing the zoning ordinance. And that's not what this is about. We have done this in other categories of the zoning ordinance, in particular with signage, allowing some of the retailers to have seasonal signage, depending on whether it's a holiday season, whether it be spring, fall, whatever. And I think we could possibly do something similar to that with the outdoor dining. Say they wanted the Christmas or whatever holiday season.
Sure.
To be X amount of weeks, or the Halloween season, X amount of weeks, or the summer season. But that would be a preferred method to do this, rather than extending the all in one shot.
And I'm okay with that, as long as there's the opportunity for a business to extend it, whether it's through a new permit or extending an existing permit. And again, my colleagues, if there's any questions or concerns, please jump in.
The only issue that may come into play is the governor's directives on dining.
Absolutely. Yes. I will say this: any and all of my questions may be superseded by an executive order.
Exactly.
So I wanted to say that. And then, lastly, I have polled, I shouldn't say polled, I've talked to, just in passing, probably about 10, 11 of our businesses. And again, I specifically deal with restaurants. While I don't know how we do this, may I, if there are questions about expanding outdoor dining areas, would it be possible to just direct them to you, Mr. Tucci?
Yes.
Because I sit here and I say, I don't think we can somehow come up with a black and white rule of how to expand the dining area, other than having you, Mr. Tucci, review them this year to make sure that they are appropriate and safe and so on and so forth. Would that make sense to direct them to you? We don't have many restaurants, but would that make sense to direct them to you?
Yes, it would. As a matter of fact, we already have some guidelines about outdoor dining, about the seating. You're required to prepare a sketch. They can't block, the access ways for the public.
Sure.
There's a number of restrictions in there, and anyone can apply for this at any time. They can send in their request, and we'll review it, and we'd be happy to take a look at it to see where we could help these folks as much as we can.
Perfect. Okay, so that's all that I have on that. And
Yeah,
Mr.
it's all on the website. The
Yeah,
application.
I know. Yeah, most of our businesses have gotten them before, but as they fill it out, if they have any
If
questions,
they need help, we'll be happy to help them.
okay, that would be great. And then the paving schedule you touched on.
Yes.
This is probably my biggest concern for our downtown businesses, being hit so hard with COVID-19. Many of them using Drive Up, and the paving. If there's any way, I'm begging and pleading for our downtown businesses, is if there's any way that any interruptions to their business activities during this time can either be scheduled at night or scheduled in such a way to not interrupt their businesses. I know we have no control over the contractor, but I have no problem begging and pleading on behalf of our business owners.
We will talk to DOT about that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is all that I have, Mr. Tucci. And so let me go to council reports. Councilman Sakala.
Good evening, Mayor. Just a couple of thank yous for my report. We approved we introduced the municipal budget earlier, and I want to thank Mr. Tucci and all his department heads and all our employees for all their hard work in getting that budget to where it is. And we see it year after year, and we know that how hard they work. And I just want to make sure I said my thank you. I didn't get a chance to say that in the last part of the meeting. Carrie, congratulations to you. I am thrilled that you are going to be our next mayor. I think I said it on my outgoing speech when I was leaving the mayorship position when Mayor Vargo was being sworn in, that I look forward to the day that I can call you mayor, and I am glad that that's right around the corner. Your dedication to this town is everyone sees it. You're a lifelong resident. Your passion and caring for Cedar Grove is unmatched. So I thank you and I congratulate you.
Oh, thank you so much, Joe. Thank you.
Councilman Tonella as well. I don't know how many times you've been mayor and deputy mayor, and to step up and serve again. Your dedication to this town, again, another lifelong resident. We are lucky to have the both of you. And I want to thank you for your service and your leadership, and for all the good advice that you've given me and everyone else in the council all these years. So thank you very much.
And Councilman Sakala, if I may add, while Councilman Tonella has been sworn in many times and nominated many times as deputy mayor and mayor, this is the absolute first time it has ever happened via a Zoom conference call.
Very true. Hopefully the last.
That's true.
Last.
And Mayor, lastly, I could save my thank yous for a later time, but I do want to thank you for the leadership that you've given us through this very difficult time. I know it has not been a walk in the park, so to speak, for you, but you've done an unbelievable job, and you'll continue to do an unbelievable job for the next, 37 days, 14 hours, 6 minutes.
14 hours, 20 seconds.
So thank you. So I want to say thank you to everybody. So
Thank
that's
you.
it.
Thank you, Councilman.
I'm going to say thank you to Councilman Messeri too, because I thanked everyone but him. So Councilman Messeri, thank you for being you. That's my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Speaking of Councilman Messeri, you're up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to add to what your report, Mayor, and just ask a couple of questions to Mr. Tucci, talking about how we can help the local businesses and what the plan is, talking about recreation in your report, Mr. Tucci. What can we tell the public now? What's the plan? Obviously we're following orders from the state and the federal, but what are we looking to do to help the community here so they could start to get to some normal life?
Well, as far as recreational programs, I guess there was one test case out there already in a municipality in central Jersey. I don't want to name the municipality. And the governing body there started to relax sports programs, and the governor's office came down and shut them down right away. So as far as organized sports programs, at this point, that's totally off the table, even if we wanted to pursue that right now. We're trying to incorporate as many of the isolated type of activities and get them to move forward. Tennis was a good example in singles match. I don't know exactly what the dimensions are, but say you're 40, 50 feet apart, you're only two people, and it's very benign, and that could have been accomplished as long as everybody, goes along with it. So things like that. And then walking, jogging, running at Panther Park, we want to start incorporating some of those things. We're going to try to start looking at opening up the library on a limited basis, even for people just in transit to go in, pick up books, and not maybe have the programs where people are gathering. So we're looking at a lot of the isolated things. And as the mayor likes to say, we're going to move slowly on this because, again, we don't want any repercussion or rebound on this COVID-19. That's the main thing, because that would be the worst case scenario where we went back to square one of total isolation. But we're trying to get, in particular, recreation. The weather's nice out here now. People want to come out. They want to do things. We talked about the dining, if we can ease up some of those restrictions. I know a lot of folks that I spoke to are looking to go out and just sit down with their families and have a nice dinner. You can only stay home so many days at this point, and it starts to build on you. But that's where we are, Councilman.
With regard to the businesses in town, I know the mayor's done a tremendous job also with his committee, Downtown Advisory Committee. What I was thinking, is there an opportunity to invite business owners to meet with us, the governing body, to have an informal, some kind of an informal meeting to do a Q&A, maybe answer some of their questions, get some ideas from them going forward, how we could help the community. I know we can't do it in person. Perhaps we could set up a Zoom meeting for the local businesses. Do you have any thoughts on that? Is that possible?
That's a possibility. But the Downtown Advisory does have their subcommittee set up, and you could do a call-in. Again, Zoom, it would be only by invitation only. You would just have to invite, because and then there's the open public process that comes into play here, and we don't want to have a repeat of what happened previously.
All right.
So that would be a little concern, but it could be a call-in type of meeting.
So I think we have 5 callers on the phone. I'm hoping some of them are some of our business owners that I've been in discussions with. This question was raised, Councilman Messeri, about having a call with just some of the leaders. So through the Downtown Advisory Committee and the Chamber of Commerce. And I'm going to give Dave Fletcher, if he's on the phone, hopefully he is, with some credit for coming up with that idea. While I have personally talked to, I kid you not, between 10 and 15 business owners, I think it's good. What I would suggest, so that way we can avoid the Open Public Meetings Act requirements and issues that we ran into the last time, I'll have that meeting with the Downtown Advisory Committee and potentially the Chamber of Commerce, and then I can report back here. And just for the public's edification, if we were to have the entire council on the phone, it would have to be an open public meeting with the phone number and password and everything published. And we've ran into some issues in the past, as we all know. So is there any objection to doing something like that, Councilman Messeri?
There's no objection. I'm just, I was basically thinking about this topic, and then you brought it up in your report. I think it's very important as we move forward, and whatever we could do, I know the entire governing body would love to, assist in any way possible. I know there's difficulty because we can't meet in person, so it creates a little difficulty in implementing a Q&A type session. But whatever, we're able to do, as long as the public is aware and the business owners are aware that we are, trying to be proactive and assisting in every way possible, I'm for it. I have no objection. I'm not looking to take over or create, another committee or anything like that. I just want to make sure that there's certainly something available for the business owners to understand that we're all, in this together, and we're trying to listen to their concerns and hopefully come up with some ideas to help them.
Yeah, and I think Councilman Tonella, if I recall, are you the liaison to the chamber?
I am.
Maybe this is something you and I can work on as the liaison to the chamber and as the liaison to the Downtown Advisory Committee. Maybe this is something you and I can put together with our business leaders and report back to the council.
Sounds good.
Yeah, the other thing, Mayor, and to Councilman Messeri, because you brought the issue up, the clerk just brought up a good suggestion. Maybe we might want to encourage some of these business owners to email the governing body. This way you can have a listing of what their concerns are in writing specifically, and then we can convene back as a governing body at one of our meetings and discuss all those issues. And that's a way to get those issues before you directly from them without violating the Open Public Meetings Act.
Do that.
Good suggestion by the clerk.
Good suggestion.
Thank you, Ms. Stutz.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
My last item, Mr. Tucci, we're scheduled for a meeting this Thursday, the Environmental Commission. And I know one of the topics that I have that I certainly am going to bring up, and I'm sure my colleagues on that committee are going to want to discuss, the issue of PPE, littering, is still an issue. I know now, even at Panther Park, I was shocked to see gloves and masks thrown on the track. I was a little surprised about that. Is there anything I could report back to the Environmental Commission? It's not fair that the DPW and the township is going to have this full responsibility. Is there anything that I could report or any ideas that you want me to present to the Environmental Commission?
Well, at this point, the DPW has been our solution. We've been stepping up all the facilities, getting out there, picking up, all this PPE. At this point, we'd be open to their suggestions and anybody's suggestions at this point. Again, public participation and cooperation is the key here as far as this. It's almost like a litter abatement program. Just like you pick up a piece of paper and you throw it in the garbage. When you take your glove or mask off, you have to put it in the garbage also. But Panther Park has always been a problem, whether it be water bottles, things of that nature. And we're just going to have to be a little more diligent as a township with enforcement on that end. And I think that's where it's first. We're trying to be cooperative and work with the people, but at this point, enforcement's going to have to be stepped up, in particular our recreational facilities.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, Mr. Tucci, even with the water bottles prior to COVID, if my kids and I are at the park, we pick them up. Pick them up and we throw them in the recycling bin. But I can understand why people will be concerned to pick up, PPE that's on the floor that's possibly contaminated. So it sits there. Even water bottles, I've seen water bottles sit there for long periods of time. So it's becoming a little bit of a problem. I know we do a great job, and I know the DPW's been on top of it. It's a shame that it's an issue, and it's becoming an issue, and that the public is, not doing their part, but it's a concern. It's certainly a concern for me.
Well, this ties back to my earlier report about the tennis courts in Panther Park. They go hand in hand. We need the public's participation and cooperation. Otherwise, we're not going to be successful.
I'll report back. We have a meeting on Thursday, so I'll report back to you and to the rest of the governing body as to any solutions or ideas.
And along that line, I just want to report that the charging station is totally complete and operational for any member of the public. And the other thing is the other suggestion that you have brought up, Councilman, about the recycling nets going on the outfall structures. We're in the process of possibly installing the first two. And as soon as they are installed, I'd like you to report back to the Environmental Commission. That is a pilot program. We're going to see how that works. And I think that's going to be very successful. And you'll probably see a lot more of them throughout the town, collecting a lot of this debris from getting into our waterways.
That's
Also,
fantastic. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could regress one bit,
Sure.
I just want to report that the mid-block crosswalk at Panther Park is complete except for the striping. That striping will be happening this Wednesday. And at that point, the mid-block crosswalk will be complete there and functional.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Tucci.
I have nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you,
Thank
Councilman. Councilman Tanella. Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Without repeating everything my council colleagues have already said, I'll be very brief. Just want to thank you, Mr. Tucci, Mr. Homa, for a great job on the budget, as Councilman Sakala mentioned. You do it year in and year out, and you just did a great job. And want to thank you for your hard work, especially during these times. To be able to put the budget together like that. During these difficult times, it's really impressive, and I know how much you care about Cedar Grove, and you do a great job for us. I just want to really thank you for doing that, you and Mr. Homa. Want to congratulate Deputy Mayor. I'll have a lot more things to say about you becoming mayor at our swearing in ceremony, but I just want to congratulate you. Just like everybody else has said, I'm looking forward to serving under you as the mayor. It's you're going to do a great job, and it's really exciting, and it's congratulations. And then this lastly, Mr. Tucci, I know we've talked about a lot of different programs. You haven't, every town is doing different things in terms of canceling or opening. And obviously, we're looking on a case-by-case basis on our own. We didn't mention anything about the community pool. I know you've spoken with each one of us individually about that. And I know you guys continue to analyze that, I guess, for our residents on the call and whoever hears this meeting. I know you're continuing to analyze that. And the reason we haven't made a call on that is because if we can open it, we will. But I mean, that's going to be a really heavy task in this environment right now. And I know we're still waiting for some guidance from the governor. But I mean, you have any thoughts on that right now as we speak?
Well,
or just
as
kind
a
of wait
matter
and
of
see?
fact, the governor, through his aquatic committee, just released some recommendations, and we're analyzing what that means to us as far as attendance at the pool, participation at the pool, and what would have to take place as far as disinfection and so on and so forth. What we're analyzing is, does it make the pool operation totally dysfunctional and not worthwhile?
Right.
Again, we don't want to have a pool season where people are not satisfied with the product that we're giving them. So again, we're just getting into that. We're going to do our analysis, and we're going to come to some decision. Also, all the recreation directors of Essex County were on a joint call last Thursday, and they are all coordinating their efforts. I can tell you that the townships of Fairfield and Caldwell have already canceled their pool seasons, and a few others are doing the same as we are. They're analyzing it and trying to make the call as late as possible, trying to salvage some kind of a season. But again, it has to be a safe season, and it has to be one that's equitable for all people. If people are paying a membership, I'm sure they're expecting to go if and when they want to go. And if it's so limited that they're not able to do that, we don't want to have a pool season where people are dissatisfied with what we're giving them or offering.
Yeah. And also our employees, we got to make sure it's safe for our employees. And I know you know that. So
yes, and we employ a lot of the young folks in town.
Right.
Whether it be through maintenance or lifeguards, so on and so forth. We have to make sure that they're still available and willing to participate in the program also. They have families, their parents are concerned about them also. So there's a lot of considerations that have to go into this.
Yeah. Mr. Tucci, how's the staff at Town Hall, the DPW, and the police department holding up throughout all of this? I mean, it seems like everybody you talk to in any job who's working, we're working a lot harder right now more so than ever before. How's that? How's everything going at Town Hall?
Well, I have to say, morale is very good here. Employees are tremendous to work with, I have to tell you. As far as the police department, we're at full force. Thank God we haven't had any COVID-19 issues. So we're working as regular. As we talked about previously, I think the mayor brought this up in his report that we have staggered shifts for the police department. We always have one unit available in the event something does come down. At some point, though, we're going to go back to full force. The Department of Public Works, they were on a split schedule. Last week, we brought everybody back. We have a new formula on social distancing, but everybody's in 5 days a week now. So Public Works is back. Town Hall is still on staggered shift. We're going to see how that goes. We're looking for a little guidance from the governor's office on when, state government, county government's going to, and we'll probably follow suit at some point. But probably for the next few weeks, I think we'll still be on split shifts here. While we are on split shifts, the services have not lingered. We have supplied to the residents everything that we could give them in this circumstance. The clerk is here, the building department is here, tax office is here. Everyone is here to assist in whatever people need. Recycling, solid waste collection is all transpiring on normal pace. Nothing has changed there. So we're doing the best we can with a bad situation. But I have to tell you, and I'm a big cheerleader here, you have the greatest employees in the state of New Jersey as far as I'm concerned.
It's great. It's good to hear. And what about PPE? We have enough PPE for everybody?
We have
the
enough
police?
PPE.
Right.
I'll tell you, it goes to the fact that our employees are so good. I mean, I have Jeff McElroy sitting to my right here, who's manning the telephone system. He's the head of the emergency management. He is all over this. We have face masks. We have gloves, you name it. He gets it from the county, he gets it from emergency management. We have more than enough. As a matter of fact, the police department solicited disinfectant, put it in 5-gallon pails and distributed it to the nursing homes in our community. The nursing homes have no PPE, but the police department, through their donations and how they're stocking everything, they're helping these groups out in the nursing homes, supplying them with what otherwise they should have been supplying or the state should have been giving them. But again, the foresight, Michael Grasso Jr. down at the DPW ordered supplies. He's got loads of supplies. So looking forward, I think we're in pretty good shape as far as PP&E. And also, there is the new CARES Act. So whatever we spend, we should get a good reimbursement from them. And we just got the applications today on that. And we also have FEMA applications, which I'm sure are going to be out to get reimbursed for a lot of what's going on. Also, our police department, our fire department, they're all being disinfected on a regular basis. We have somebody going in, Chief Sarasa and Chief Zachariah have purchased these guns. Actually, we're borrowing them. We purchased them, we didn't get them yet, that dispense this disinfecting solution that coats everything. It disinfects the police cars, all the office equipment, the fire trucks, so that when our men and women go out on calls, everything gets disinfected when they get back, so everything is clean for the next group of folks that use this equipment. So again, the procedures here are pretty tight. We make sure that the building's clean 3 times a day. You'll see our cleaning people go around spraying doorknobs because everybody's touching them consistently. But we're doing all the little things that we think need to be done to keep our people and our residents safe.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Tucci. And it's please on our behalf, thank all of them for everything that they're doing. You know, it's there's a lot of strange things about this current predicament we're in, but being stuck in your home and not seeing everybody on a regular basis, to say hello to somebody like Officer McElroy next to you and say thank you for what you're doing, and the chief and Mrs. Stutz, it's difficult. You're doing it from a room in your house, but please thank them on our behalf, and it's good to know we're in such good hands. Thank you.
And again, I don't have to tell you ladies and gentlemen this, but our volunteer fire department is second to none.
Yep.
These folks are out there giving their time. I mean, they do everything for the public. I mean, things that are outside the scope of being a fireman, they do. But, it's things like that that make the community what it is.
Yep, no doubt. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tucci. That's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate it. Last but not least, Deputy Mayor Peterson. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of you for your kind words. Means a lot to me, and I'm really excited for the next year. And I want to thank you, Mayor Vargo. You've done a tremendous job, and nothing like being a mayor for the first time and getting hit with a pandemic. But I know the hours and hours and hours, and it's just been crazy, and you've done a tremendous job. So thank you for all your hard work.
And he won't be known as the COVID-19 mayor, believe me.
No, I don't know if we'll let him live it down, but
At least you're not the mayor that canceled Halloween.
This
year isn't over yet.
You're never gonna live it down.
No, you won't.
And without being redundant, I was also just planning on thanking Mr. Tucci for the budget. I know it's such so much hard work. You do such a great job. All the department heads, please thank them all on my behalf.
I will.
For your hard work. I just have a couple things. So I wanted to bring up the tennis courts. Mr. Tucci, you did bring it up in your report. So I guess there's really not much more to say, except I was so disappointed because I walk by the tennis courts at least 3 times a day with my dog, and it made me happy to see people out, that little bit of normalcy. And, it's too bad, but I understand, obviously safety comes first. So hopefully we could develop a plan and get back to at least getting that in again. I believe all construction, I think the governor, he opened up all construction again, right?
He did.
So, okay, so any
Non-essential construction is opened up now, yes.
non-essential, okay, so what about the field at LRP? Do we have any idea?
As a matter of fact, I spoke to Mr. Cornelia from K. Hovnanian earlier today. Their plan is they're going to start in July. Yeah, because of the wet weather, the field back there is a little wet. They would have gotten in there now. They're going to wait another month, and then they're going to start in July, start that field in the back.
Okay, great. And then today I saw that the governor opened up outdoor batting cages. I haven't even seen the new batting cage at Panther Park. Is that like a locked cage, or would a kid be able to go there to hit now?
It is open, but the governor has, again, it's going to have to be individuals and not any groupings.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
but it is available to use, yes.
if a kid wanted to just go with like their coach or their mom or dad or someone to just go hit, they can go there and hit.
Yeah, I believe that is allowed, yes.
Okay, all right. So the batting cage at Panther would be allowed to be used, and at LRP. The net, is the net still up at LRP or no?
I don't know. I'd have to double check. I'm not sure.
Okay. I think that is all I had. I'm just trying to think. I had one other thought, as we're trying to get back to some level of normal, and, you had mentioned even the library potentially opening at a smaller capacity. I don't know if you saw, I believe it was in the city, or it may have even been Jersey City. Did you see the outdoor parks where they had the circle drawn in the ground, 6 feet? You could do something like that even around the perimeter. The perimeter of the library is beautiful. The grounds are so pretty. You could even do like those circles maybe a little bit, just even to have a kid go there and sit with their mom and read, or, just some thoughts going forward into this with the cancellation of summer activities. I've just been trying to think that when things open up, obviously we're not going to be able to have organized sports, but just some activities to hopefully by July, if things are continuing as they are and improving, that we could offer something to the residents for, especially the children, because it's hard on everybody, but.
Yeah, at this point, I'm in preliminary discussions with the library director on how we're going to start opening up a little bit there.
Okay, great. All right.
Because really, the most affected populations with the library are the senior population, and our real youngsters,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
toddlers. Those are the two main groups I think that are most affected by the library being closed at this point.
yeah, yeah. I mean, really, the being outside is great, and like I said, the grounds are beautiful. So if there's some way we could try to incorporate more usage of keeping people outside but socially distanced and doing library activities, it might be
Mhm.
a thought.
Yeah, we're looking at that now.
Great, good, okay. And that's all I had. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. If I may, Mr. Tucci, one item that I don't think we discussed was the fireworks.
Yes.
And I know we've had, between one or all of us have had some separate discussions about that. Is there, can you give us an update on when we need to make that decision on the
Yeah,
fireworks?
actually, by contract, what happens is we normally pay 50% of the fireworks payment by March. And then we have to make a decision 30 days before the fireworks are held, whether we're going to cancel and get our money back or we're going to proceed. So the fireworks is scheduled for July the 2nd. So that means technically we're supposed to give them an answer by June the 2nd on whether we're going to move forward or not move forward. I am going to reach out to them. I think there is some flexibility given everything that's going on, that they're going to allow us a little bit more time to decide what we want to do. You know, hopefully we can close that gap to within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I could tell you what my train of thought and the recreation director's train of thought is at this point with the fireworks. We want to have the fireworks in some form or fashion, even if it's not with the full gathering at Panther Park. Even if we have designated locations where people can go with their car, whether it be the old Tool Center, whether it be the parking lot of St. Catherine's, and just spread people out, or even the parking lot at Panther Park where you maybe stay in your car or next to your car and don't go on the field. But it's a hard thing to try to take away a 4th of July celebration of this country's creation. I mean, we really don't want to take that away. So we're trying to formulate some plan to have this, and we're leaning toward having it in some fashion. The other ideas that were thrown out were that even if we don't have a 4th of July fireworks celebration, we do it some later time in the year, maybe Labor Day. And some communities are also, I saw on the website, that they're spinning it as a back to school celebration and having it Labor Day weekend. So those are just some ideas, but our first choice is to have the 4th of July fireworks on the 4th of July, because I think it's very inspirational for people.
No, and Mr. Tucci, thank you for that. There is one thing that I think this council has done, this council and you and everybody here has done a really great job of taking our time and assessing the situation, gathering all of the information that we can to make the most fully informed decision. And I think this leads up to that. Similar to our decision on the pool where we don't have a decision yet, buying that little bit of extra time to roughly mid-June to make the decision, which I think is our next council meeting, or our council meeting in June is maybe June 15th or so, allows us to assess where we are and come up with a better solution. So I like that idea. I am in favor of trying to do something on July 4th weekend. I think it's something that, as long as we could do it in a responsible manner, whether it's closing off Panther Park or other restrictions or other things in place, I think it's something that would be good for the community. So holding off and making that decision, I think is helpful.
Mayor, if I might, I concur with you and Mr. Tucci. If we can do something on July 4th, that would be my personal preference too, just because this is, the celebration of our country's history. And not trying to be a Monday morning quarterback, Mr. Tucci. The mayor and I were talking earlier and just trying to kick around ideas. Did you guys consider community park as a solution too, where you could stay in your car? I'm just trying to envision somewhere in town where there's a big parking lot. And you mentioned the old Tool Center, where people can stay in their car safely and watch it, almost like a drive-in movie in some capacity. I just didn't know.
The problem with that is the Division of Fire Safety has very stringent requirements on where we can fire off the shells, certain size. So that's why.
Where all the trees are over there
where
is
the
a
trees and
problem?
everything. And I don't think Community Park would be a candidate
Got it.
to get a permit. And that's the reasoning why it is where it is right now.
Understood. Right.
Even when we had formerly had it at the high school, you knew that we always had a fire truck on Sherman Avenue
Right.
because of the fallout for the residents and their rooftops. So there are some restrictions as to location, but your suggestion is good. Community Park would be a great location if we could get a permit to do it there.
Right. No, I appreciate you, like the mayor said, taking a lot of thought into it. So I'm hoping we can pull it off in a safe manner.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last, any other questions on that topic? Okay. That was the last item that I want to bring up. So moving on the agenda, we have the council reports are done. Item 7 on the agenda, approval of bills.
Be it resolved that the summary of bills, having been duly audited and found correct, are hereby ordered paid in the amount of $2,923,658.88.
Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve, Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Wait, can I just comment on this?
Sorry.
I just want to make one comment. This bill list has a payment to the Board of Education of $2.5 million in it. And even though this governing body deferred taxes to June 1, we were able to pay our county tax of $2.8 million on the last bill list and the school tax of 2.5 here. So I'm very happy to report that Mr. Homa did a great job. We were able to juggle the residents, paid our collection percentage was very great, and we were able to satisfy all directions, whether it be deferral of taxes, paying the county tax, and satisfying the school board payment. So I think it was a job well done by everybody. Thank you.
Agreed. Do I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Sakawa,
Yes.
Councilman Messeri,
Yes.
Councilman Tanella,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Vargo.
Yes. So at this point in time, we're moving on to item 8 on the agenda, which is the public comment on any item on or off the agenda. Mr. Tucci, we have 4 callers on the line right now. So since this is for any item on or off the agenda, what we will do is we will unmute specific numbers. If you could listen for the last 4 digits of your number. When we call that out, I will give a 10-second runoff on my end, and you can feel free to speak during that point in time. Just please state your name and your address for the record. So why don't we go ahead, Mr. Tucci, and unmute the first line.
Okay, Jeff.
Caller 1232.
Hi there. This is Dave Fletcher at 29 The Glen, Cedar Grove.
Mr. Fletcher, good evening.
Hey, how are you guys? I joined it a little bit late, and I understand that there was a robust business discussion earlier, that local business discussion that I missed. So I apologize for that. But I just wanted to bring up a few points that I just, as a business in Cedar Grove that has been functioning through the pandemic, in the safest way that we could. I just want to bring up a few thoughts that are hopefully possibilities as we move forward through this. The first, with the understanding that we decided at the beginning of this, before I think the rules were in place or anything was established, that we weren't going to allow anyone in the store. There are reasons for that that were related to people trying to avoid confrontation, trying to avoid issues of people standing too close to one another and getting into arguments, which I was seeing happening in other stores that were allowing people in. And we decided to go all curbside, which was by using an app. People would order, we would prepare the drinks, run them out to the person's car, and work in that capacity through the day. As we move into the summer months, obviously it's getting warmer, and we would we know that there are outdoor permits. One of the things I think will be helpful right now, given the fact that, you know, if businesses are functioning at all, if they're functioning like us, which is about a 50% of revenue that we had before this, it would be helpful if we could not have the fee for outdoor tables and chairs, as long as that they're put out at a safe distance from one another, and you know, and monitored, and obviously not in the middle of the sidewalk so that people have to walk around. That would be extremely helpful, I think, to us, and hopefully would encourage some other businesses to try to, you know, set up outdoor seating. That's one thing that would be great. Another thing. Sorry.
Mr. Fletcher, this is Mayor Vargo here. So we did, some of the questions that you and I had discussed over the past week, including waiving the fee. The council approved waiving the fee earlier, unanimous, everybody agrees.
Okay.
And I think everybody wants to support our local businesses. So we did discuss some of the outdoor seating as well. And Mr. Tucci is going to look at that. And one of the things that we mentioned was there is the application process, of which, while we cannot extend that particular permit beyond October, Mr. Tucci has agreed to make it a seasonal permit. So all you have to do is essentially renew your request for a permit, and it will be, I'm going to say extended, but it will be a new seasonal permit. Again, no fee. And with regard to outdoor seating, our businesses are encouraged to complete the application and then give Mr. Tucci a call directly to see if your expanded seating, or however you have that set up, to see how that would work. Mr. Tucci has agreed to work directly with our restaurants and bars to accommodate them as much as possible. So I just wanted to share that with you, Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Vargo, and thank you, Mr. Tucci.
You're welcome.
That's extremely helpful. So one other thing that I think might be a down the road type of thing, and I from what I understand at the moment, signage that is perpendicular to Pompton Avenue for the businesses on the street, that is not currently allowed, or and I could be completely wrong about that. That the only type of signage you can have is parallel to Pompton Avenue. Is that a correct assumption that I'm making, or is it incorrect?
Mayor, can I answer that?
Please do.
Mr. Fletcher, your assessment is
Yes, sir.
somewhat correct. What happens is the only signage that's allowed is the signage on the building, or the signage that's approved that's in the windows. But what I have been doing, again, along the seasonal permit venue, is in other business establishments, I have allowed seasonal signs to go up. And during COVID-19, I have allowed some A-frames along the sidewalk area, as long as they're not in the walkway. This way, people can get exposure of what you're doing differently now than your normal business process was. So when you're submitting your dining application, if you want to put in for some type of signage, just give location, size. We will put it on the review and consider it, given the conditions that we have right now.
Understood. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm also going to assume that you guys did talk about when the work on Pompton Avenue and when that may or may not begin.
Yes, we did.
We did, and it was. I'll sum it up in a few words. We're begging and pleading to make sure that the paving does not coincide with your business operations. Mr. Tucci is going to reach out and get a better understanding of the schedule. but the importance of making sure that you're not getting hit by COVID-19 and then compounded by paving on Pompton is not lost on the council, and Mr. Tucci understands is going to reach out.
Okay. Well, that's all I have. I'll step away from the podium and thank you all for the time.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher, and thank you for bringing your podium. Okay, so going to the next caller, open for public comment.
Caller 0811.
Hi, Steve Young, 18 Young Avenue. Tom Gucci, I'm a member of the Cedar Grove Historical Society Board of Trustees, and our president is Gene Jager now. So he would be, answering what's going on up there. And the second thing I have is I understand that Memorial Day Parade was canceled before the COVID-19. I'm extremely disappointed in that. Having somebody, I've been marching that parade for 60 years in one form as another, from firemen down to Cub Scout. And to me, it's very disappointing not to honor the veterans. And that's all I have.
Just one comment, Mr. Young. The parade was not canceled prior to COVID-19.
Yeah, it was not, Mr. Young, and I know that we had some discussions about this actually with Ms. Landolfi. It was at our budget hearings, I believe, and we had all agreed to keep the parade on.
Correct.
And it was unfortunate that COVID-19 came through, but we did all agree to keep the parade on, and we actually had it itemized.
An appropriation.
We had an appropriation in the budget for it. So, Mr. Young, are there any other items that you'd like to discuss? Okay.
So the parade will not be rescheduled.
Will the parade be rescheduled? I think it's difficult in this time with COVID-19. I will tell you this. I think we're going to continue to take our direction from the governor on items like that. As much as we all want to make sure that the parade would go forward, I don't think anybody here on this call can make any sort of commitment that the parade could be rescheduled in a reasonable time, given the governor's restrictions. But look, if the governor has make some changes, we can always consider it. But I think that's a large gathering, and I will tell you this: I would think if it were opened, I think we'd get a very large gathering for people to be out and do something like that. So we'll continue to take our direction from the governor on that, Mr. Young.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, the next caller.
Caller 9043.
Caller 9043. Give you 10 seconds if you want to jump in. Okay, go ahead. Let's go to the next caller.
Caller 2900.
Charlie DeVico, 111 Highway Lane. The only question is Mr. Tucci, which I think you're on. Hello?
Mr. DeVico, we missed you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am here. And presumably a very simple question. The fire building on Fairview Avenue by the Hilltop project, what is the long-term status of that building? Is how it plays into the Hilltop project?
Mayor, through you.
Please.
The property that is currently used by the fire department is owned by the County of Essex. As part of the agreement to build a new South End Firehouse, we were allowed to use that temporarily until South End Firehouse is completed. once we move into South End Firehouse, we will vacate the property on Fairview Avenue. And it's my understanding that the County of Essex is going to raise that building and make it part of the open space.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci.
You're welcome.
Mr. DeVico, any other questions?
No comment, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeVico. Are there any other callers, Mr. Tucci?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. Since we have no callers and we've gone through all of the phone numbers, I'm going to go ahead and close that portion of the meeting. Move on to item number 9, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all for joining. That will conclude our meeting of May 18th. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Stay safe.
Good night.
Night.